if the National Party gain power, what is their plan for tackling the suicide epidemic among the youth? That's a very difficult thing. This is a very difficult thing because I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's not ultimately a political issue. So it's not ultimately solvable by a political plan. That once again is the socialist mindset, is that you can sit down and you can decide that by the action of the state you can change the emotional sense of a person in despair. What I will say is this, is that oddly enough, Fintan O'Toole wrote an article many years ago now where there was a 14-year-old girl who had committed suicide. And this was post-Catholic Ireland. And he posited that against the situation in Granard, which is the village near where I live, which was the great scandal of the 80s, where a young girl who was pregnant died in the grotto of the local church. And that was supposed to be the Catholic Church's fault, and also was supposed to be the fault of the fact that we didn't have abortion in Ireland. I've never been able to see the connection, but the connection seems clear enough to the pro-abortionists. Is she was pregnant and she died, so therefore we should have abortion in Ireland. There was no indication that she ever sought an abortion, but anyway, Fintan O'Toole wrote an article in which he said that this was the great scandal of Catholic Ireland, but that in post-Catholic Ireland, in liberal Ireland, there was a 14-year-old girl who, looking at the totality of her life, could see no reason to continue to be alive. And he said that was the great scandal of post-Catholic Ireland. And it is they have left a moral vacuum. I am not saying that we should go back to Catholicism. I'm not saying we should go back to the way things were in the 80s even, certainly not in the 50s. To me, it's frightening. I look at the newsreels from the 1950s, and by the way, the newsreels don't show the insides of the Magdalene laundries or the mother and child homes, but just the ordinary life, which was supposed to be fun in Ireland in the 1950s, and it looks dreadful. It looks absolutely appalling. I don't want to go back to that under any circumstances, never mind its grosser aspects. But what liberalism has done, most certainly, has hollowed out the reason for being alive. Literally. Why am I alive? What am I for? Where am I going? What am I going to do with myself? It is said family doesn't matter. You're not even a man or a woman. There's so many genders you can pick. There's no such thing as marriage. There's no such thing as children that are your children. There's no such thing as family. There's no such thing as community. There's no such thing as country. There's no such thing as nation. There's no such thing as loyalty. There's no such thing as religion. There's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as the afterlife. There's no such thing as anything that could possibly make you want to stay alive. That's a fact. Why, if you take away all these things, why be alive? Why be alive? So you can get drunk? Lots of people do exactly that. So you can take drugs? Yeah, lots of people do that. Because they can't see any other purpose in being alive. That's my impression of it anyway. Is they cannot see any purpose in being alive. It is not a political solution, but there is a political dimension to it in giving people back a sense of purpose beyond their own immediate consumerist pleasure, to serve a cause or an idea that is bigger than themselves. Catholicism provided it in its own way. The nation can provide it in its own way. That's how we start to address the epidemic. You will never eliminate it altogether, but its cause, especially among the youth, is clear enough, where there aren't actually mental problems, psychological problems. where it's I hate to use the phrase when we're talking about suicide, but where it's a rational choice. We need to remove the fact that our young people are sitting down and looking at their lives and going, there's no point. That's the solution. To me, that's the solution. Why are people saying to themselves, there's no point in being alive? Let's give them a point to be alive. That will require political action, but it will require action by society in general.